Welcome, friends, to the Line of Fire broadcast. Michael Brown, here to tackle the difficult subjects, the controversial subjects. It's our calling. Not everyone is called to do it the same way. And many times you want your pastor to cover everything. You want your Bible teacher to cover everything. And there's only so much that they can cover and address. So let us fill in some of the gaps here. Let us help serve the rest of the body. And pastors, leaders, let us be a resource for you. Let us serve you and enable you to better equip your flock. In fact, later in the broadcast, I'm going to mention a great free resource that I think would be a tremendous blessing to your entire congregation and to everyone that is listening today. All right, we are continuing our series about homosexuality and the Bible, transgender identity and the Bible. What does Scripture say? How should we live? What about social, moral consequences? Before we dig in, as I do every day, I want to remind you that we have thousands of resources that are free on the Line of Fire website. Yeah, I don't mention that every day, but we do talk about the website. I mean, we have more than 3,000 videos we've put out. We have about 3,000 articles we put out. So there's a subject you're looking for. Go search on the Line of Fire website, and I think you'll be amazed at what you find and how much is there for you and how many questions you wanted to ask. Well, we're here to equip you. We're here to empower you. We want you to be able to engage on the front line. That's why we put out our once a month frontline newsletter. It's to help frontline warriors, frontline soldiers. Our battles are not physical and earthly. And that, yes, we vote, we're in this world. Of course, we're involved. But we don't fight the way the world fights. That's what Paul says in 2 Corinthians 10. Our weapons are not worldly weapons. Rather, it is by the truth of God and by the Spirit of God that we pull down strongholds. So we overcome hatred with love. We overcome evil with good. We overcome lies with truth. We overcome the power of the flesh with the power of the Spirit. And a frontline newsletter will help you do that very thing. So get your copy, sign up. You'll get last month's immediately sent to you. And then as soon as the new copy comes out, the new edition this month, you'll get it. Go to thelineoffire.org, thelineoffire.org, and you can sign up. Just takes you a few seconds. Name, email. If you want to put in your address, we'll also let you know when I'm coming to speak in your area, so you'll get a personal email telling you that I am coming your way. You might say to me, Dr. Brown, I know there's a lot of controversy about what the Bible says, but there's so many issues that are important. I mean, we've got border security. We've got economy. We've got worldwide issues, potential war. We've got fentanyl overdoses. There's so many things that we've got to deal with. We got rampant pornography. It's so much violent crime and mass shootings. We've got broken marriages and Christian homes. And why in the world do you spend so much time talking about homosexuality and these issues? Well, for those that didn't hear the early broadcast this month, I talked about what happened to me in 2004. Because up until that point, the first 19 books I had written, I didn't hardly say anything about homosexual practice, or it just wasn't on my mind. If you look at everything I wrote up until A Queer Thing Happened to America, which came out in 2011, so every book I've written up to that point, I went through every single page and pulled out every single reference to homosexual practice, homosexuality, anything like that, transgender issues. I don't think it would fill a page. If you pulled out every paragraph, every sentence, I don't even think it would fill a page. In 2004, God began to burden me. And immediately, once I began to study and read and look into things and kind of look around in society, I realized that this 20 years ago now, this was already the principal threat to freedom of religion, speech, and conscience in America. And that this was something that everyone would have to deal with. And then God quickly took me deeper to understand we weren't just dealing with issues, but with people, and spoke to me clearly by His Spirit in early 2005. Reach out and resist. Reach out to the people with compassion. Resist the agenda with courage. So we continue to do everything else we do in ministry. I continue to travel all over America and around the world preaching the gospel. Continue to be active in one way or another every day in Jewish evangelism and outreach. Continue to do my best to teach and equip at different ministry schools in America and around the world. That's day and night. That continues to happen. But this has also been something important that we've added in. And here's why. It's because of the impact of the agenda on the society. Look, when I first started speaking about these things, and there are others who were speaking about them long before I did, but when I started speaking about these things, and it seemed kind of like just a voice in the wilderness to some, and people would say, old friends, Mike, why are you wasting your time on these issues? I tell them, I feel like an umbrella salesman in the desert, and we're building all these warehouses for more and more and more umbrellas. And you're saying, why are you doing this? Say, listen, a storm's coming, big storm, and you're going to need all the umbrellas you can get. And as I've often said, metaphorically speaking, we haven't been able to manufacture the umbrellas fast enough for many years now. There's hardly a day that goes by where something having to do with LGBTQ plus related issues is not front and center in the news. And in presidential campaigns, major debates and back and forth, and it's a constant. What about boys who identify as girls in girls' sports? And this is just a constant. These are things going on. But this is something that became very, very clear to me early on, that those who came out of the closet, fighting for what they felt was best, what was fair and good for them, let their life be just as worthy of acceptance as my life, or the life of any other heterosexual. Let their relationships be as open as ours. Why should they suffer on the job? Why should they lose their job? Why should they be discriminated against because of feelings they've had all their lives that are just as fine and good as feelings that we have? So they came out of the closet. And this really erupted in the late 1960s and exploded with the Stonewall riots in June of 1969 in New York City. That's when things burst to the surface in so many ways. And those who came out of the closet basically began to say this: we demand our rights. We demand our fundamental rights. And then they began to look at conservatives, because it was conservatives, and the great bulk of America had conservative views on these subjects back then. We demand that you recognize our rights. We demand our rights, and we demand that you recognize our rights. That was next in the process. And then the next thing in the process is, as more and more people stood with them, more and more allies, more and more standing together, they got more and more power and influence in society. Many Americans did not want to repeat our bigotry of the past, how we treated African Americans, how we treated Native Americans. We didn't want to be bigoted and hateful. We wanted to be open and tolerant and loving. And many Americans began to shift in their views, and psychiatric and psychological associations began to back these positions, and big business began to back, and liberal elements of the media began to back them. Then there was more power in the agenda. The next step was to conservatives, especially conservative Christians, we're taking away your rights. And then the next thing is, you're going in the closet. Those who came out of the closet want to put us in the closet. I'm not talking about your average person who identifies as gay or lesbian who just wants to live their life. I'm talking about the activists. Those who came out of the closet wanted to put us in the closet. I began to say that in different secular platforms when I was doing interviews, 2005, 6, 7, and the years after that. And people would say to me, nobody wants to put you in the closet. No, but you're dreaming. We just want our rights. Nobody wants to put you in the closet. As the years went on, the tone began to shift. And people would say to me on live interviews, bigots like you belong in the closet. Things shifted. I was talking to a Christian attorney one time, and he said to me, Mike, take this one step further. And his organization, he says, not a week that goes by, we're not called into a court case somewhere in the nation dealing with these very issues and the assault on our rights. He said to me, Mike, take it one step further. Those that once went to jail because of their lifestyle now want to put us in jail. Well, I made that comment after saying those who came out of the closet want to put us in the closet. I said, and there are some, one of my Christian attorney friends says, take it a step further. Those who were once put in jail for their lifestyle now want to put us in jail. And I said it on a Christian TV broadcast. And I got assailed in the gay media. I mean, assailed. And then liberal websites attacking our position. Nobody wants to put you in jail. Nobody wants to put you in jail. I was mocked and ridiculed for saying it. And then a few years after that, a county court clerk in Kentucky, Kim Davis, said that she could, and Kentucky had voted, this is before the Obergefell decision where the Supreme Court overturned outrageously overturned the meaning of marriage. So what happened was that Kentucky had voted 75% to 25%, a massive vote saying marriage is a union of a man and a woman. Kim Davis, working there in Kentucky, was told she had to write out a same-sex, quote, marriage certificate for a couple, and she declined. Now, under the what are called RFRA laws, so Religious Freedom Act laws, that would protect her, she didn't have to do it. There were other ways the court could have said, okay, if this is just a marriage certificate for someone and they want to have it, whatever, they can do it. Okay, so now Obergefell happens, laws changed. So, okay, now she should do it, but just get the chronology right. This is post-Obergefell. She should do it, but with the RFRA Act, there are ways to protect her from doing it. Someone else can do it, etc. They just do it online. But no, goes to court, and the judge says, you have to issue the certificate, and she says no. And she goes to jail. She goes to jail for defying a court order. You say, well, she deserved it. Across the country, there were gay activists and their allies celebrating it. They were comparing her to ISIS. They were comparing her to the Taliban. They were comparing her to Nazis. When she did go to jail, there was celebration over it. Isn't that extraordinary? So, friends, this is why we talk about these things. This is why we discuss them, because kids in preschool are being taught according to gay activist theory and gay activist agenda. And you make your way into college and university, and it gets more extreme. And you get pressure in the workplace. This is why we must talk about these things, because this is the world in which you live. We'll be right back.
Staying active is essential for your well-being. Whether you're at the gym, strolling in the park, or enjoying hobbies, every step counts because movement is life. I'm Paul, a board-certified doctor of holistic health, and I want to introduce you to Trivita's beetroot gummies. Packed with nitrates, these gummies enhance vasodilation, giving you the boost you need to stay active. The natural power of beetroot supports energy, stamina, and healthy blood pressure. So whether you're gardening, dancing, or enjoying time outdoors, Trivita's beetroot gummies keep you energized. Don't let fatigue hold you back. Experience the energy-boosting, on-the-go benefits of Trivita's beetroot gummies today. Embrace life's opportunities to move and thrive with Trivita's beetroot gummies.
Order today and use promo code BROWN25 to receive 25% off your order. As a new customer, 100% of the proceeds from your first order will go to support the Line of Fire radio broadcast. So call now, 1-800-771-5584, 1-800-771-5584, or online at trivita.com.
Thanks again for joining us on the Line of Fire. Friends, it is my goal from the heart to infuse you with faith and truth and courage. So we're going to dig a little deeper today and talk about moral and cultural issues. I'm talking about now, 15 years ago, roughly, there was a young woman married in our ministry school, and she worked part-time at a preschool in Charlotte, highly rated preschool. So you're talking kids 3-4 years old. And she was required, when talking to the kids, let's say the boys were being naughty and acting up, she couldn't say, boys, be quiet. Or boys and girls, we're going to do something. No. That was making a gender distinction. I said, what did you say? She said, I had to call them friends or something like that. Then there was reading. She was supposed to read different books, children's books to the kids. One of the books was Heather Has Two Mommies. So she just skipped over it. When she was asked about it by those over her in the school, she ultimately had to resign. Now this is in Charlotte, North Carolina, in a preschool, something like 15 years ago. I documented in my book, A Queer Thing Happened to America, what was happening in children's education. I began to get books. If I kept getting all of them, there would be stacks that would go up to the ceiling of children's readers, delightful little books of children's readers. There's even one, a book about two dads, and it's dedicated to one kid who only has one dad. But that's okay. His mom and dad really love him. It's not as cool as having two dads. One of the recent books I got is called The Gay BCs. And I saw a video of a toddler. It's a toddler. The kid can barely talk. He's sitting on his mother's lap, and he's going through the ABCs. And B stands for bi. And K stands for kink. And L stands for lesbian. Q stands for queer. This is a toddler learning this. And at the end, the mom says, say, I'm woke. And he goes, I'm woke. And that mom thinks she's doing a good thing. That mom thinks that she's doing what is loving for that child and helping the child grow up in a tolerant, loving way, whether she identifies lesbian or straight or bi or trans or whatever. She thinks she's doing good for that kid. Those who are writing these books think they're helping kids and doing good. This is through our school system. I've had college students say, what do we do? And now it's in younger grades as well. But college students, what do we do? The very first day of class, when we go around, new class, introduce ourselves, the professor says, all right, I want you to go around the room and give your name and your PGP, your preferred gender pronoun. So you have to say, I'm Sam, and my pronouns are he, him, his. I'm Samantha, and my pronouns are they, theirs, them. I'm Jody, and my pronouns are z, them, zer. You have to go around the room and do this. And I'm not. These are actual cases. This is the z, them, zer. These are actual quote pronouns that are used. I found one website with 78 different gender pronouns that people could use. 78. Where do they come from? The sky's the limit, right? Well, now you're under pressure. You're a brand new student. You're a freshman, your first year, first class. What do? Do you go along with it and then you just compromise your conscience? Do you say, I can't do this? Now you alienate other kids in the class and now you disobey the professor? What do? This is pressure kids are under. And when you realize that in many of our universities, the ratio of liberal to conservative faculty can be 100 to 1, or in some cases 500 to 1, well documented. You realize there is a real suppression of free speech, a real suppression of free speech. There have been court cases that have made their way all the way to the Supreme Court, where a Christian group got kicked off campus or lost their campus rights because they said, to be a leader, you have to hold to our beliefs and our moral values. Anyone can come, but to be a leader, you have to be Christian, and you have to hold to our statement on sexuality and our statement on sexuality and things. And that was protested. Just think of it. Any other group, it's understood. You're gonna be part of a Muslim group. You got to and lead the Muslim group. You got to be a Muslim. You got to be part of an Orthodox Jewish group and lead the group. You're gonna be an Orthodox Jew. Anyone can come, but to lead, you have to hold to these things. But it wasn't a Christian group. They lost their rights. These are major cases. I can give you example after example. There was one woman who was a university administrator in Ohio, a black woman, which I tell you for a reason. And in the local newspaper, someone wrote an editorial, a homosexual man, explaining what his views were and how the Bible was being misinterpreted and so on and so forth. So she, in her own time, wrote her own response. So she wrote her own editorial, responding to the editorial in a local newspaper, explaining her views as a Christian. There had never been a single complaint against her in the university in terms of anything where she was unkind or discriminatory or treated a gay or lesbian or bi or trans person differently than anyone else. Never. Zero. But she lost her job. She lost her job because she dared to simply publish her views on her own time in a local newspaper, responding to another editorial. This is what I'm talking about. Those who came out of the closet want to put us in the closet. I'll give you another example of an African-American woman who's also deaf. She was a diversity officer at Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C., which I understand is the premier university for the deaf in America. She had earned a PhD, so she was a pioneer black deaf woman earning a PhD and loved in her school. So you would think if there's anybody that is going to be protected from discrimination and not discriminated against by a liberal university, it's going to be a black deaf woman, right? Not in this case. She and her husband attending a church service in Maryland. The pastor gives out petitions to ask the state of Maryland, this is before Obergefell, before the Supreme Court decision. The pastor asked for people to sign a petition calling on the Congress of Maryland itself to vote and to give the people the right to vote on this. That's what the request was. Let us vote on this. Well, a local gay newspaper published the names of everyone who signed that petition, which was simply saying, let us vote on this as people, citizens of Maryland. As a result of her being doxxed, her name coming out that she signed it, she was put on administrative leave by the university. Now, can you imagine anything more egregious? And this is a university. This is a loved woman on staff. This is a case of someone simply saying, can we vote on this subject? Can we vote on it? Because of that, she put on administrative leave. Now, ultimately, the university had to cave to all the pressure and apologize. But she had to go for counseling and help. I mean, this was a traumatic, terrible experience. I mentioned earlier broadcast, my friend Dr. Frank Turek, apologist. He also gave lectures on workplace unity and how everybody from different backgrounds could work together. They loved the lectures, very, very popular, right? And he would do this for secular companies, for Cisco, the tech company, for others. He would do these talks. He was Bank of America. He was loved. He was respected. And they were totally secular, right? Always got great ratings. Well, he's giving a lecture one day. Someone decides to look into who he was, finds that he wrote a book saying that marriage is a union of one man and one woman only. And because of that, he was fired. His contracts were terminated. Those who came out of the closet want to put us in the closet. What I've been saying for 20 years, friends, is we're not going in the closet. And I know that you hear my heart and you want to stand together with me. Hearts of compassion, backbones of steel. That's why we do what we do. This is the world in which we live. This is Dr. Michael Brown. Thanks so much for tuning in. Just a reminder that we are listener supported. If we have been a blessing to you, if you're being enriched in the word and prayer in your own walk with God through this broadcast, then stand with us so that we can reach many, many more and bless many, many more. Together, friends, we're making a difference. So go to thelineoffire.org, thelineoffire.org, and click donate.